Let's talk about belief. Rising Ground Church here, Pastor Jamal. I wanted to hop in here today. Hadn't really done anything today, is Sunday type stuff in a minute. And I had a reminder. Well, I was listening to something and it kind of sparked a thought as well as a remembrance of something. So it's all about belief. And if you are listening to this and if you're a Christian, we know we've heard belief and faith time and time and time again. And if you're like me, you know, it always seems like there's a gray area. There's a grayness in the understanding of what's really being presented to us when it talks about belief and I tell you what, let's go right to a source. So this is Bible, of course, but this is Mark chapter 11, verse 24. And it says, I tell you, you can pray for anything. And if you believe that you've received it, it will be yours. Let's read that again. I tell you, you can pray for anything. And if you believe it, if you believe that you receive it, it will be yours. So we've heard that preached. We've heard that said, even in circles that don't claim to be, or not Christian circles. We've heard about belief and faith and all of those things. And it always seems like there's this area that's not as clear as it could be. So I have struggled with understanding, because at first glance we say, okay, if you believe, Bible says, Jesus says, if you believe, you will receive, right? All you have to do is believe. So what does believing look like for you? Do you believe that you're going to wake up in the morning? Is there an effort that goes with that belief? I mean, do you do things to aid yourself in waking up? Do you believe that you're going to go to work? Do you believe that your name is what your name is? So what does it really mean? What does it mean? What does it feel like to believe? I had come across some information some years ago, and the information talked about putting yourself in the wish fulfilled. So act as if you're already there. So I struggled with that for such a long time. Like, what are you talking about? In the context of belief and faith, but let's just stick just with belief. So believe that I'm already there. Assume the wish fulfilled. Now, before I go on, don't be afraid of certain terms that people use, because the Bible, if you are a Christian, the Bible just said the words in Scripture, Jesus's words say, if you believe, you receive, you'll have it. So what does that symbolize? What is Jesus really saying? What is Scripture really saying? What is God really pointing you at when you're told, if you believe, you will receive? God is so big, man. God is so big. The information comes in so many different places, so many different streams. Truth comes in so many different layers and again, so many different areas. So I know that the piece of information that I picked up that didn't claim to be Christian in one way was literally talking about, okay, if you want this thing, then you have to believe you already have it. You have to assume the wish fulfilled. You have to assume that you're there, or you have, or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm practicing. I'm like, okay, I want a nice house. I want to be in a nice house. I want a nice job. Whatever the thing was at the time. I'm like, I believe that I have this. I believe it. I just know I believe it. And yet nothing happened. So what was I doing wrong? What is Scripture pointing at? What are these things pointing at that we're not seeing clearly. When you are, and I'm going to try to make this quick. When you believe something before you receive it, what is that scripture? It's let it be unto you according to your faith, or believe it before you receive it. It's just another one. I can't think of it now, but this is literally God telling you, yeah, you have to assume the wish fulfilled. You have to assume this space, assume that you have what it is that you want. So what does that look like, and what does that feel like? It's literally, if I want to be a wealthy man, and I believe that I'm told to believe I'm a wealthy man before I see that I'm a wealthy man. It's not enough just to, I used to hear people say, they couldn't afford to go in certain restaurants. So what they would do is they would go and sit in the restaurant and order water or a coffee. So they would put themselves in this space, assuming that they are the person that is able to buy anything in this restaurant, and they're just having a cup of coffee or a cup of water, whatever it is. So this was their attempt at believing or assuming the wish fulfilled. Now, that's cool, and that works as a strategy, is a type of an affirmation, but it's really lacking what God is pointing you to. If you believe before you receive, it's all about imagination, man. We've been given the best thing that we could possibly have on this earth, and that is our imagination. Your imagination puts you in a place that you couldn't normally go if you didn't have it. A lot of people, we have, we're lacking a lot of things. We don't have the physical means to do a lot of things, but your imagination gives you the means. It literally gives you the physical means as well, but it gives you the means to put you in a place that you couldn't normally be. So that's the number one tool that God has given us that is priceless. So if I am believing that I am a thing before I am a thing, what's going on? What's happening? What am I doing? You are literally, okay, let's say your name is David. Your name is David, and you have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. So you're David, and then this is the life that you've known. You know what it feels like to be David, to have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. Now you want to experience, maybe you want to be a millionaire. Maybe you want a boat. Maybe you want a motorcycle. Maybe you want to do something with children, but you just don't know how to do it. How you believe before you receive, and then you receive, is you do this. You know what it's like to feel like to be David. So you, in your imagination, maybe you're driving that new car, maybe you're walking around that new house, maybe you're at the job with the kids, whatever it is. You literally, you're thinking as David from that point. So you're David, you know what it feels like to be David. Now in your imagination, you're standing in the lobby of the facility that you want to work at with the kids. So you're standing around there, right? And you just kind of taking everything in. But you're not taking it in as a foreigner. This is not a make-believe person. You're literally David, and you're standing in this place as if you're standing in your job now. So you're looking around, you can even touch the door handle, in your imagination as David. And you can feel, because you know what it feels like to touch a door handle. So to believe that you are a thing before you are the thing physically is to assume the position, assume the stance. You're standing in this place and you're seeing from David's eyes. You're seeing the ceiling, you're seeing the doors, the door handles. You're even seeing people walk past you. Maybe you might wave at them. This is what it means to believe before you receive. This is what it means to have faith, to be in the substance before even the substance takes its form in your physical reality. And God is awesome, man. We have been behind the 8 ball for so long because we have been conditioned to believe certain things about God that are no longer serving us. You know, the great and mysterious thing about life is, you know, thousands of years ago, the people that were living in these times, they lived in their times. They had what they had. They didn't have planes and cars. They didn't have a lot of different things. So if I'm telling you a story, or if I'm giving you an idea of a truth, I can only give it to you from where I stand, from where my experience is. As we move forward, God, it's not that God releases the truth, because the truth is always there. We've just expanded in our knowledge, so now we can conceive certain things we couldn't conceive thousands of years ago because our environment has confirmed it. So when we knew we had imagination all the time, but maybe we didn't know. You know what? That's why people used to even burn people at the stake, calling them witches, because there are people who have tapped into their God-given nature and their ability, but they didn't have any reference for it. And the people around them didn't have any reference for it. So then they had to judge them like this. So you're a devil, or you're a witch, or blah, blah, blah. I'm cutting you up and burning you down. You know what I mean? So that's the fallacy of, man, I don't even want to call it fallacy. It's understandable, but I hope you see what I'm getting at here. So if you are trying to become a different version of yourself, if you're trying to go forward, go higher, glory to glory, if you're trying to transform, and you've always wondered about belief and what are you talking about? How do you do this? Sometimes I can complicate a thing, but first of all, there's a plethora of information that may be akin to how you think. I'm just speaking from how I think. So for me, it took me years to understand, what are you talking about? How do you do this? And then being in this divine flow, allowing God to guide me to the places that will illuminate what couldn't have been illuminated before because of how, we allowed ourselves to be conditioned, or just how we were raised. You know what I mean? If you surrender, God will, in divine flow. And if you know anything about us, that's our theme. That's everything that we talk about is divine flow. When you're in divine flow and you surrender to God's unbroken stream that leads you effortlessly into the places that you thrive the most, that you excel at, that you get, that you're awakened, then life is good. So surrendering to however God wanted to unveil the understanding of belief, so we could start to utilize the power of believing, the power of faith, then that's exactly what would happen. It took us to some places that we were uncomfortable with at first until we knew what was going on. So if you've struggled with believing, if you struggle with faith, and you just want to know a little bit more about how you can master or maximize your desired destination, your destiny, what God has instilled authentically in you, but you couldn't get there because you don't know, then this is the right place for you. Or maybe we can help you get there by pointing you to someone else or whoever. But feel free to comment and ask. Most of us, the Bible says you have not because you ask not. Most of us are afraid to commit ourselves to a thing if it's uncomfortable because of many different reasons. This is a place of non-judgment, and this is a place of spiritual awakening, of Christ consciousness. Is a place of God, and I'm sure every other place is too. But I just wanted to come on here today and share with you how believing had always been confusing to me because I just felt there was something I'm not hearing about this thing, and how I allow God to, maneuver me into places, into information that illuminated what I couldn't hear before. So your imagination is key. It is the doorway to all doors. And believing, a technique in believing that you are what you want to be, in communion and connection with your imagination, and simply knowing that assuming the position is you being you, but having this. This is Pastor Jamal, Rising Ground Church. God bless.